Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Daffy's Roundtable. On today's episode, we are joined once again by James from Top Shelf Geckos. I was actually just looking before the episode, and this is actually James's fourth time on the podcast. And every episode he's been on has been super interesting, and this one is no different. On this episode, we dive into skinks, specifically blue tongue skinks and monkey tail skinks. And as usual, I learned so much from James about these fascinating species. But before we do that, allow me to thank Exoterra for sponsoring this podcast and making this episode possible. Exoterra makes quality products for our pet reptiles to make them feel at home. Okay, without further ado, let's talk skinks. Everybody, please help me welcome James of Top Shelf Geckos. James, welcome back.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good, man. This is actually, as we were just saying for the episode, this is your fourth time on the podcast. So thank you very much, as always, for coming on. And then I'm going to do a bit of a disclaimer here for both the guests and yourself. I have absolutely nothing written down, like not a single question. But this is going to be fun anyway, because we kind of already know what we're going to talk about. And it's going to be like another reptile hangout, kind of just chat. So let's get right into it. Or actually, let's not get right into it. How have you been doing, man, since the last time we saw you?
Good. Just I guess I saw you in Ottawa last. Not so much the podcast, but the expo.
Yeah, June.
Yeah, pretty busy from like almost right when I got back from that expo. Like eggs started like right after that, pretty heavily. So
the best time of the year.
I like when they come out more, but I mean that's happening now too. So I like it's a busy time right now, but I kind of like thrive in that chaos of like figuring everything out as I'm getting it all going.
Wait, you prefer eggs hatching or eggs being laid?
Eggs hatching for sure.
Okay. And when you came out of it, it was eggs being laid season.
It was still like eggs being laid, but like it's like usually eggs start as like a trickle. You know, you get like a few females that are like okay, and like those were kind of before the expo. I had some like the gargs and the chewies were going. But then I got back from the expo and the collared lizards started, and they're usually just like they only incubate for like 60 days, and they can dump like over 10 eggs sometimes. So yeah, you just get like inundated. My incubator went from like having some fat tail eggs into it to just being packed full in like I don't even know, like a week. Probably a week.
Nice. And those are all the Mount Wichita, or did you get eggs from different species?
Or so that was all of
still unsettled.
that was all Wichitas.
Okay, cool.
Up until 2 days ago, I got some Oriceps eggs, which are the yellowheads.
The yellowheads, nice. Yeah.
So those are my first eggs from those, and then the other female, I'm still waiting for her to lay her eggs. She is like a balloon right now. So nice. I'm hoping any day now kind of thing. But I've been saying that for like 2 weeks. So I don't know. They're a lot smaller than the other collared lizards, the Oriceps. They're I'd say like
as adults or the eggs?
Yeah, no, both. The eggs are smaller, but also the adults are I'm sure somebody has one that's like 30 grams, but most of mine are around like 27 grams ish. So they're a lot smaller than the other ones I have.
Cool. All right. Yeah. And then in otherwise, the skinks have been doing well.
Yeah. So we've got the twins from last year, from the monkey tails growing up still.
Nice.
And then we've got the new baby from the same pair this year. And it's doing super good. It's still in with the parents. And then we have some other ones that are on the way. And then on our Instagram, I just posted recently, sorry, that we got one of our Tannenbar blue tongue skinks just gave birth, which was super cool, which is really cool. If any of my blue tongue species or subspecies were going to go, I definitely wanted it to be those. So I was super, super happy and
Yeah,
they've been fun.
they look so cool. They're almost like the darkest ones, I believe, like almost all black.
Yeah, they're like
Actually, I'll just
I'm not sure what's like gonna happen with them because the dad is like a pure black form, and the mom is like what a typical Tannenbar would look like. So I don't know if that
which is
is
like
like,
a tan brown or
yeah, it's like a tannish brown, golden. Some of them are like kind of silvery. They have like a pretty good range of colors. They're really beautiful skinks. They just don't have as good of a reputation as some of the other ones because they tend to be wild caught, and they, as wild caughts, they are definitely a lot spicier than even the other blue tongues as wild caughts, like the other Indos. So there's not many people captive breeding them, so it's pretty rare.
can you see what's happening? I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, there you go.
yeah,
So
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, so like I would say my female looks like the top right there, the most, the kind of like golden, like brownie with like tan stripes. Yeah,
This one. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then
but
the dad is just pure black. Like that one's not even black enough to like he doesn't have stripes because he's so black.
yeah, that's cool.
So I
And yeah, and I have pictures or videos that I've saved
yeah.
from Instagram, so I'll pop those in here as well to see for you guys to see the babies for those of you that are watching. Um, but yeah, they're so cool. So first of all, how long have you been waiting for? Like, how old are the parents? How long? When did you pair them? What is the process like? Kind of run us through that.
So I bought all of my blue tongue skinks uh 3 years ago, I guess now. Um, and I tried pairing them for the last two to no success. Um, and then this year, I tried something different, and I had success. So, yeah, so it took me 3 years to kind of figure out what I was doing with them. A lot of because they're a lot. I always just call them spicy. Like they're just they have a lot of attitude, and because they're like that, they don't typically like to be paired like other blue tongues, like where you put them in a bin on their own and kind of watch over them.
Okay.
Um, a lot of people say like that Tannenbars are a little more skittish from over top. Like blue tongues are pretty chill if you just got to scoop them from over top. But the Tannenbars are a little bit more skittish with that. And
Maybe
it could
like
just
front
be,
opening doors or whatever.
yeah, it could just be like a lot of what I've read says that their main predation is like birds on the island, just kind of scooping them. So that could just be an ingrained like stuff overhead is bad kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I tried some different things with them each year just to like be like, is this gonna work? Is this gonna work? Is this gonna work? Something worked last year, or this year, sorry. So I'll try it again next year, and if it works, then.
Do you know what, or do you mind sharing what you did different this year that you think kind of
So
was the reason?
typically, I'm like an open book about that kind of thing. Yeah, this time I'm just gonna keep it
Yeah,
to
no,
not
absolutely.
so much to me. If anyone did have Tannenbars and they were trying to pair them, I would speak to them about it.
Yeah.
But I found now at this point, like when you're like, I'm not going to say I figured anything out yet. I did it 1 year. That doesn't mean you figured anything out.
100%.
I just did something different. It might have worked, and if I try it again next year, maybe it works. So I don't want to give people that like, oh, this is how you do it thing, or give people the idea like, oh, I can do it because he said that's how you do it, and then go buy
Yeah.
some kind of thing. But if
Right.
someone is trying to produce them, I'd be more than willing to talk to them about it because I want other people to be producing them. I think they're really cool blue tongues. They're like half the size of a lot of the other ones you see, like the Northerns and the Irian Jayas. They're like way smaller. So there's just like a good compact blue tongue. So I'd like to see more people breed them, but I'm finding like putting stuff out there, it just makes people like think then like they have the information and they can do it, and it takes like way more than that.
Absolutely, that's fair. Okay, so Tannenbar is, I'm assuming that's an island. I don't really know the geography.
Yeah,
And this is it an island in Indonesia?
it is.
Are
Yeah,
all
yeah.
are all blue tongue skinks from Indonesia?
No, so there's so many different types of blue tongues. The one that most people think of is the northern blue tongues from Australia,
Okay.
which
Oh
are
yeah, I did. Okay, sorry, yeah, I didn't know that there was some
yeah.
in Australia.
So
Right.
those are Taliqua skincoides intermedius, I
Cool.
believe is the subspecies of them. And then there's I forget if it's the western or the eastern blue tongue. One of those is also I think it's an eastern. I'm just looking it up right now.
Yeah.
Um, I think the eastern blue tongue is also so that's also it's Taliqua skincoides.
Okay.
So it's and then tannenbars. So tannenbars are the only Taliqua skincoides that is not from Australia.
Okay. Yeah.
Because they're from the Tannenbar Island, obviously.
Yeah.
But so the other two are from Australia.
And are all like you said the northern, the eastern, and the Tannenbar. Are there any others that are being kept in the hobby?
There's like the blotched, like the alpine blotched blue tongues, the ones that are like black with like orange. I
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
I think Nick's Intriguing Reptiles.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think he has them. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he does have them. But then the guys in the States have them, like Phil Tremper and Johnny Rax, I think is the guy's name I just saw, had some babies from some of those. Those guys are really cool. I forget what they are, but as far as like the species of like Taliqua skincoides, it's just the three, I believe, like the skincoides intermedius, and the tannenbars, which are chimera.
Cool. You have all three.
No, I have northerns, the intermedius, and then I have the tannenbars, which are chimera, and then I have Irian Jaya blue tongues,
Okay.
which
Cool.
are unclassified, I believe, still.
What
So
what and what do those look like?
they're kind of like a burgundy. They look similar to a northern, but kind of just colored less vibrantly. They're kind of like a copper rusty sort of color.
Okay.
And
I can also.
their front legs are a little bit muddier patterned. Northerns tend to have very clean front legs. Like there's no pattern on them at all.
Okay.
And the Irian Jayas tend to have like very high amounts of patterns on their front legs. But they're just like I just looked it up just to be sure nothing changed. I think they're still just a Taliqua SP. Like they don't have any classification.
And all of these are considered
Blue tongues.
blue tongue. Yeah, as
Yeah.
like as the common name. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And then there's still like other ones that aren't really in the hobby, like outside of Australia. Like there's the pygmy blue tongues, which are the smallest species of blue tongues.
Smaller than Tannenbars.
They're the smallest blue tongue species. I forget the exact size, but they're like miniature. they're really small.
And they're not available as like pets in the hobby.
I don't believe so. No, I think they are. They're Taliqua adelaidensis, and they're Adelaide pygmy blue tongue skink. This guy's like holding one, and it's like tiny in his fingers, like just miniature. They're really cool. But yeah, I don't think they're in the hobby outside of Australia, and they might not even be there. They could be endangered there, and they might not be able to keep them. I think they're like decent about that stuff.
What about over here, like in North America? Do you think they should be? Not obviously, I'm not talking about the pygmies. I'm talking about like the ones that are available. Do you think they should be kept more? Do you think they make good pets?
Yeah. Not good. Well, if you can give an animal a large amount of space, like you've seen how I keep my blue tongues, like they have what you would shove a Christmas tree into, like it's huge. And like if you can give them something like that, or like like a really big enclosure, like a 4x2 kind of thing, because that's basically like kind of what the tubs are. Then like for sure they're a good pet. Like the northerns specifically, they're just goofy. They don't really bite. They tend to just sort of huff if they get angry. But for the most part, like if I go near the northerns, like I hear them trying to get out and just see like what's going on. Like they're dopey, but they're intelligent. Like there's something going on there.
Yeah.
The tannin bars I think could be good. It's just it really comes down to the fact that like they're mostly wild caught right now. So northerns have had tons of time to be captive bred, where
Right.
like they're pretty common in the hobby now, like a northern blue tongue skink. So maybe if the tannin bar gets there, it could be good too, because it is like it's a much smaller skink. But like I said, they tend to be pretty high attitude. The babies seem to be really good. They seem like I can handle them. Like they huff a little bit, but once they're in my hands, they're perfectly fine. Which to me is like that's pretty much what a northern does. When you're picking it up, he gives you like the sass, but the second he's in your hands, he's like, oh, yeah, it's fine.
That's it.
It's fine. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Tell us about the babies. So first of all, how many did you end up with, and what was were you expecting them that day, or like what was that process like? Did you just wake up and you're like, oh, babies? And yes, I know I already know this, but for everybody.
Yeah, so I knew just from timing wise that I was getting close to baby time. Like you kind of know how long a like a live bearer takes. So I kind of knew it was coming. So I was kind of checking daily, but I didn't expect that female to drop first, if at all. But I just kind of do a peek in every day. Like I just do a little quick, like, how's your water? How's everything? And I just like peeked in that one quickly. And I just saw this little baby like quickly shoot up and just stare at me like, oh my God, what's that thing? And I was like, what are you? Like, we both had this moment of like, what is going on? So I like opened it up and I like looked through and I found another one and I was like, oh my God, two, like this is amazing. I was super stoked. Like any amount of tannin bars would have made me really happy. Like even just one, I would have kept it and just been like, cool, that's good. And so I noticed like she was super angry. Like she's always angry, but she was super angry. So I was like, she's still going. So I just left her for a little bit. And yeah, eventually we ended up with 6 babies, one unfertilized ovum. So like a slug came out. And then one stillborn. So 6 surviving though.
That's crazy. And you said that this was the female that you weren't expecting. What happened? Has the other one started, or is she still showing signs that she's going to, or anything happened with that?
I don't think the northern female is going to go. She slugged out last year.
You're talking about okay, northern. Yeah.
The Irian Jaya female, she still looks really big, but we're pretty far over the date now. Like they're just really big skinks anyway. Irian Jayas are like huge blue tongues. So I'm not really expecting them at this point. Usually the Indos tend to be like a little bit harder to breed than the Northerns, it seems, just from the amount of them that are around. It seems more difficult. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't expect it from the tannin bar because I like I said, I tried something different with them because they were just impossible for me to just like monitor and pair them. Because they get so angry if you're just near them. So I just tried other things and it worked. And I didn't expect it to, but it definitely was a treat.
Do you pull the babies out, or do you keep them with the?
I pulled them out because they're tannin bars. Like I know, like Dave Skinks like keeps some of his babies in with the parents for the first little bit. And like he hasn't, or at least he was doing it this season, and I don't think he had problems. But tannin bars are just, there's so much attitude. Like even when I went to go pull all the babies out, once I could tell she was done, she like got angry at me and tail whipped me, and like there was a baby right at the tip of her tail, and she made it do like a little spin on top of the cocoa because it was just like holding the cocoa, and she was in the area. So yeah, I just wanted to get them out so she didn't. Not even doing it to mean to hurt them, just like trying to protect herself from me or doing whatever kind of thing. It's just safer for me, and I can monitor everyone's individual eating as well. There's not enough of them that I was like, oh my God, there's so many, so I can keep them all individually and like monitor them.
Oh, you're keeping them all individually, even as the babies. You're not keeping them together. Okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
cool. Okay, yeah, and the different between the Tannenbars and the Northerns and the Iron Jays. Are you keeping the adults the same, or is there anything you have to do differently?
Yeah, I keep the Northerns drier, or I guess you could say I keep the other one's more humid,
More
whatever,
humid.
whatever, yeah, whatever way you want to say it.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, no, the IJs and the Tandem bars, I keep a good bit more humid than the Northerns. The Northerns I usually won't I like won't mix like their substrate like with water. Like for the Erie and Gias and the Tandem bars, I'll actually pour water in there and then hand mix the substrate so all of the substrate is like moist again.
yeah,
Whereas the Northerns, I tend to just spray the enclosure. Just like a cursory, like top level, kind of just spray them.
yeah, yeah. Makes sense.
Everyone's got a big enough tub that not that like to submerge themselves in water fully. So I'm not too concerned if they felt like they were dry. They've got humid hides and they have a big water dish. It's not like they can just drink; like they can climb in them.
That makes sense. Do they burrow?
Yeah. I noticed. I used to keep them on like a mixture. Like you've been here, you've seen most of my tanks are kind of like the same mixture that Bree makes.
Yeah,
And I kind of noticed with them they couldn't get under it the way that other like the smaller animals could, because I guess because they're so big they would like break it apart kind of as they were wiggling.
yeah,
So I swapped everyone over to like cocoa husk chunks.
cool.
And now, yeah, they all just disappear as soon as they know like the lights go out at about 7, and usually at about 6:30, it sounds like someone is trying to like break down the wall of that room, and it is literally just like 7 blue tongues trying to dig under a log and go under the cocoa, but they're just kicking stuff everywhere, and it's so loud.
Is that in the morning or at night?
At night, like
So
right before the lights go off, they go hide.
are they are diurnal then?
Yeah, at least
Oh,
from what
cool. Okay,
I've seen of them, they seem to be. Yeah, they all bask during the day.
that's interesting. Okay, yeah, I don't know why I didn't expect that. That's fascinating. They seem like a very interesting species. I've just never kept them.
They're fun. They're definitely they're like a little stinky because their size.
Yeah,
It's kind of just a skink thing. A lot of the skinks, the bigger ones, they all. I mean, just big reptiles just smell
yeah, it makes sense. What do you feed them? Do you feed them? Yeah, what do you feed them?
everything.
Are you team cat food and dog? I know that this is the thing.
So
I've never
I
been
do
there.
I do feed dog food. Um,
Okay.
uh, I try not to feed too much of it. Um, it's very much like I'm exhausted kind of thing. I'm like, sorry guys, and I'll never just feed it alone. I mix like greens with it. I'm like,
Okay.
make sure you get. If I'm giving you garbage, sorry, if I'm giving you garbage, like let's make sure you get some healthy stuff too. But
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
they'll eat like greens and flowers from the garden. Usually
Okay.
it needs to be mixed with other things so that they'll take it, but I know it's good for them, so I want them to get it. They eat insects, snails, like are all skinks that are I've noticed that are omnivores. Even some of the herbivore stuff, like a lot of people are saying like their monkey tails seem to enjoy snails. I don't feed them, but like some people have said that they had some snails and the monkey tails like seeked them out. So yeah, just know
How
like
do you
blue
get
tongue.
snails?
They lived somewhere that snails just like naturally
Oh,
big
okay, cool.
snails naturally
Yeah.
occurred. I know. Trust me, I've been trying forever.
Okay, yeah.
All of the bug people at the expos think I'm really cool until they realize I'm trying to feed their
Feeder,
animals to
yeah.
mine.
It's like, oh, so you're asking about feeders or
Yeah,
pets here? It's like,
they're like, wow, this guy's so interested in this, and then I'm like, and how fast do they breed, and what's their nutritional content?
Yeah, no, I think it would be cool to have snails be a part of. I think even the mountain horn dragons would take them. Honestly,
Mhm.
I think a lot more species would take them.
Yeah, I know if I could regularly get snails, like live snails that move so things would hunt them, I'd
Yeah,
put them in with the pink tongues, I'd put them in with the blue tongues, I'd put them in with the chewies. Like, yeah, very
you think the
much.
chewies would take them too?
Yeah, those jaws are meant for just crushing everything.
Yeah, it's
Chewies,
interesting.
chewies are something. They're strong animals for their size.
Yeah,
They're really strong.
that also surprises me. Actually, I don't know why I view them as like kind of just like
They're
a slightly
they're
bigger
the
pussy.
I know that they have like a decent like following, but I definitely still think they're the most underrated New Caledonian gecko
Yeah.
by far.
Is there
By
different
far.
types of chewies?
Yeah, there's like mainland and Pine Isle.
Okay, as well. Yeah.
And then they're like if you go like look some things up, there's like apparently like another species which is like Jalu. And they're basically like I honestly I forget the whole thing because I haven't read it in a long time, but I think it's basically like Jalu are like they're like pine isles, but they can grow their tails back. I believe is the
Cool.
difference, or one of the differences that makes them, I guess, separate. But yeah, but it's like, and then I assume like when the imports all happened, they didn't know that at the time. They look similar, so it's like you wouldn't even know, kind of thing. I
Just
don't
kind
know.
of right
I
off
haven't,
them at the same.
like I said, I haven't read it. I haven't read that. I read that a really long time ago, like probably like 10 years ago, maybe. So,
Yeah.
it's not something that's like fresh in my head.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, but going back to the snail thing, imagine how much variety all these animals are getting in the wild, just in
Mhm.
one area, all these different types of bugs, and we're like, here's crickets and mealworms and superworms, and that's all you
That's
get.
why we
Yeah,
always like people like me are always pushing variety so bad to like customers because it's
yeah,
like we really want people to understand like in the wild like they're not going like, oh, I gotta wait for a cricket. If it moves in front of them, they're shoving it in their mouth.
mm-hmm.
Like
Whatever it is.
you know why you see those videos of like a praying mantis like killing a frog or something? It's because the frog tried to eat it. Like, and that's what I mean. Like they're not choosing like, oh, that thing might kill me. They're going, that fits in mouth. I'm gonna try to
Yeah,
eat it.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Like that's it.
absolutely. Whether it's snail, cricket, or smaller lizards, like they're
Yeah.
probably, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So it's an interesting thought. But anyway, let's get to what was supposed to be our topic for today, which we haven't even spoken about once
Oh, we
yet.
spoke about it a little bit, not much though. I tried to graze over
It's
it.
monkey tail skinks.
Yeah.
So another species I know basically nothing about. So let's learn about monkey-tailed skinks. Right before the episode, we kind of also quickly grazed over it, and you mentioned species, and I thought it was just the monkey-tailed skink or the Solomon Island monkey-tailed skink. I see it written in different places with different names. I don't know anything about this. Can you please clarify, or as much
Yes.
as you can or would like to?
So they have so many common names. Monkey tail skink, prehensile tail skink, Solomon Island skink. Just like a boatload of them. But it is and then I think like northern monkey tail skink and common monkey tail skink, I think, or no, they call them something like that. But it's basically there's two subspecies of them. So there is zebrata, Carusia zebrata, which is the quote unquote common monkey tail skink, which is what you predominantly see in the hobby. I would say like 98% of what you see,
So
maybe
that's what
more.
you have.
Yes, yeah, those are what I have. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and then there is the northern monkey tail skink, which is Carusia zebrata Alfred Schmidti. There's a lot of Alfred Schmidti. He's like a herpetologist, I believe. So there's a lot of animals that are Alfred Schmidti on their
Yeah.
subspecies.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, they're basically they're only from like the northern islands of the Solomon Island.
But still from the Solomon Islands.
It is. I believe so, but also not. I think they're also one of the islands is like governed by Papua New Guinea, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't super follow like
Okay. Yeah. No,
the
for sure.
politics
Yeah.
in that area. I believe one of the islands up north, like Bougainville, might be governed by a different country. But they are all in the same strip of islands,
Right,
which were
same area.
clearly
Yeah.
they were clearly at one point they had land bridges in that area. Yeah.
That's fascinating. And sorry, I know you said like 90% of what we see is the
Probably
more
more than
more.
that.
Okay, yeah. So, but
99 or 98.
okay, so but are the other ones available at all? Like, do you
Yeah,
see visual differences between them, and do you see them like being kept? Like, does anyone have a group of these and a group of these, for
yeah,
example?
yeah. Oh, I don't want to say his name wrong because he's like the monkey tail man. Eric Akaba, I believe is his name.
Cool.
His name's definitely Eric. The Akaba, I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, he is like in the monkey tail group. He is the guy. He
Cool.
has. I honestly don't know how many groups he has. It is he probably a lot. He's got a
Yeah.
lot, and he's been doing it for like a very very long time. On his page, he says something like, "Is it a yeah Akaba? Yeah." So I think he's been keeping monkey tails for like over like 3 decades or over
Wow.
2 decades.
Wow.
I might even be getting that wrong. Like it could honestly be longer. He is literally the monkey tail guy. Like everyone goes to him for like advice, basically.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And he has both of them. And then there's in like the monkey tail Facebook group, there's a few people that have both.
Yeah. Okay. And are there? Do they look the same?
No.
They're-
Like yes, because you wouldn't look at an Alfred Schmidt eye and be like, that's not a monkey tail.
Right.
But there is visual differences.
Okay. Cool.
So they are, I believe, they're smaller than the common monkey tail, like the zebrata. And then like this how do you say the word again? Sclera, I think is how it's pronounced, which is basically like the white of your eye, like
Okay.
how we have whites of our eyes. I
Yeah.
believe on them it's black. But
Whereas
it's very it's very
regular,
hard
it's
to.
yellow.
Sorry.
On the regular or the common, it's yellow. On the zebrata.
No, on the Alfred Schmidt eye, it is black.
Okay.
But it is very hard to see theirs because unlike us, ours is huge. You can see the whites of both of our eyes, like they're
Right.
pretty visible.
Right.
With them, their iris takes up a lot more room, so it is a bit harder to see. But that is a fairly obvious one, as the others tend to have like different colors of like whites and like off whites kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then the eye color tends to be like very vibrant in the Alfred Schmidt eye as well. It doesn't really vary too much either. I think it's pretty much like a greeny yellow or a green or a yellow. Like you only get that spectrum of colors. Whereas on the zebrata, the common, they have. I have a locality that has like pitch black eyes. Like their iris is black. Everything. It's just
Okay.
it looks like they don't have eyes because they're so dark.
So even within the one species, there are different localities.
Yes, yeah, because the islands, even though they were connected at some point with land bridges, they've been separated for a fairly large amount of times. I've only found a couple, like I think there was not maybe even only one where they kind of broke down trait differences of
The different islands.
the different islands, and
That's cool.
kind of pointed out where like there was land bridges and things like that where it may have had some crossover. And then the Alfred Schmidt eye is only up in the north, which again, I could be getting it wrong, but I think that's like Bougainville and like Shortland Island area of the islands. Like I know some of their names, but without looking at a map, I'm kind of
no, for sure. Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm surprised you even like, well, I'm not surprised, but I'm impressed you even know some of the names because I don't like. They're just the Solomon Islands to me.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I definitely like. It's funny because when I used to keep monitors, and that was like my thing when I first got in the hobby was that I just kept monitors, and even then I was always very interested in like Solomon Island monitors.
Okay, yeah,
Like stuff from there was always so cool to me, like the Indicus complex, like the I can't even say it, spinalosis.
yeah.
Those guys are like super cool, and so like I've always kind of gravitated to that island strand.
Region, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then I remember the first time I saw a monkey tail, I was just like, well, that's it. And like, yeah, I kind of since
yeah.
then, if I can find anything on them, I'll read it. I'll tear through it. And if I don't understand it, that's why Chat GPT exists.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, like, well, you just, like a lot of people are like, oh, I can't read this paper. It's like, yeah, I'm not intelligent. I'm just, I take the paper and I smash it into a computer and I say, I'm stupid. Tell me what
Tell
this
me what it
means.
says. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that makes sense. That's a good way to do it. And okay, so you kind of just answered it, but I was gonna ask you why monkey tail skinks? Why are they
I honestly
why?
don't know. I don't know if I could like pinpoint a reason. Um, they're cool in like 1,000 billion different ways. They are just everything about them blows my mind. There's nothing about them that I'm like, that's average reptile. Like they're yeah, I don't know. I honestly can't explain it. Usually I can explain what I think is like awesome about a reptile, like the collared lizards. They're cool because they're social. They're bright blue lizards that want to jump onto you and climb all over you. Like that's cool. I don't know what it is with the monkey tails. I saw them. I thought they were cool. I've always really liked herbivores. Like I find with like my wife being like a horticulturist and like someone who's really passionate about plants. I always have like really healthy greens around. Like my animals don't sit around like eating romaine and iceberg and crap like that. Like they always have either weeds from our property or stuff that she's grown. So like yeah, I don't know. They just are like an animal that fit with me, I guess, is more than anything. I literally can't pinpoint a reason. I would just be listing every single thing about them because all of it blows my mind.
It's funny because that's probably the biggest thing that keeps me away from them. But I'm like I don't really I barely buy vegetables for myself, let alone buying them for reptiles. So I actually stay away from like herbivores in general when it comes to like the reptiles that I keep. But I think another thing about them, or like the thing that interests me about them is kind of the communal aspect, or they seem to be communal. And I remember you saying something about like you keep the babies in for a certain period of time with the parents as well, so they're raising their own kids and all. Like uh, that's all very interesting as well. Could you do? Is it sort of like lychees where it's like you're pairing them once and that's it? They're paired once and you can't keep any other lychees with them or whatever. Could you, in theory, if you had a large enough like zoo exhibit type of enclosure, just have multiple pairs of them in there, kind of just doing like let them colonize the entire enclosure almost.
I don't think so. For well, it depends. If it's massive, like absolutely massive, maybe you could have a male and a bunch of females, but males tend to be territorial still. Some people say they've had males like live together perfectly fine, but like I've seen my males see each other before and they definitely got a little not they didn't dive at each other or anything. Like I had the one out and he saw the other one and they were kind of like checking each other out a little spicily more than I would have appreciated. So we moved to the side, but they do tend to be a little territorial, and then the females are very territorial about the babies, about their babies. So to me, it probably just wouldn't be worth the risk. I'd rather just if if I had like a zoo level enclosure, I would just either keep what I've got in like a trio in that or whatever, or just segment it if it was that big. I
Yeah,
think they do good in like a family unit. I don't think like I'm sure they could do fine because again I've heard people in the group say they've had males live together perfectly fine. I just don't see the point of the risk of it. Like we know male reptiles can be
Right.
territorial, and we know that they can do damage. So it's just not, I don't know, it's not worth that to me.
Yeah. And do they pair bond for life? You said family unit. Like, is it a kind of thing where it's like
Um,
every year, or could you in theory switch out pairs and stuff?
I'm sure you could. Uh, the thought. I don't want to sound like a cynic, but like the thought that these animals, like people are like, oh, you can never repair a lychee, you can never repair chewies, you can never repair monkey tails. It's like you definitely can. Like as much as like humans are awful as like a species, like we're very like like we have probably like the highest emotion of any species, and we still leave and change partners. So it's
Right.
kind of like the idea that these animals that almost not run off instinct, because there's brain there. I don't like being that, but they are set to like, okay, I need to breed, keep my bloodline going. The thought that they would never repair again is just kind of insane. It's more just, I think a lot of that comes from like yes, okay, like for lychees, for example, your pair worked, right? Like, oh, I bred them, maybe one of them passed away or something later, and you're like, oh, I want to pair this one with a new one, but I'm afraid of something happening. It's only happening because they're going into a new enclosure together. That could have also happened with the first one, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like there's going to be some fighting or pairs that don't work immediately.
Right.
But the thought that they can never ever again be with another animal is just kind of insane to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that makes sense. It does, even with lychees. I hear it all the time. Again, the species I've never kept, but I hear it all the time with lychees, and it doesn't make that much sense either.
I've worked with a lot of lychees. It's not a thing. It is,
Okay.
lychees are hard to repair. I'm not going to say that, but a lot of that is just like lychees and how they are, because originally pairing the pair in the first place is hard. Like people being
Yeah.
like, oh, the new pair is going to fight. It's like, yeah, but you took that risk when you paired them originally.
Originally.
The
Right.
first
Yeah.
time, there was a chance those two were also going to fight,
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean,
right? Like,
I guess that's
and
why people don't repair them either. It's like we already took the risk. Things are going well. Why risk doing it again?
I did, and mine are doing great.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
paired one year, and they didn't, like, she beat him up, and I was like, okay, you're separated. I waited next year. I did like a faunarium introduction where like I had like a smaller enclosure in the bigger enclosure just to get smells and all that kind of stuff. Just get used to each other.
Yeah.
And then once, usually you can tell if they weren't pleased with that other one being in there,
Right.
like food dishes we kicked over in the smaller enclosure and stuff like that. So you can kind of be like, okay, like they were sassing, but then you can also come in and they're laying together on their, one's on the top of the enclosure and the other one's laying against the screen of it or something like that, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. People like to take little things that someone has said along the way and run with it into this like big, then it turns into like a big myth, right? I would say that's definitely like a myth.
Yeah.
Like you can't again, I'm not saying it's not harder to repair lychees than other animals. I'm just saying that it's harder because they're lychees. It's not harder because they're upset, they're missing their bonded animal or
Yeah,
whatever.
no, that makes sense, and it's also true that people just kind of hear one thing from, or one experience someone had in the hobby and kind of run with it as a general for all situations, and it's kind of funny. And then one other thing you mentioned there is you said that the mother is super defensive when the baby's around. Is she defensive to the male, and do you have to like separate the male at this time, or how do you deal with that situation?
Um, I just keep them all together, like dad, mom, and baby all live together, and dad's perfectly fine. Like he's I don't know if it's just like because it's him, but he's like the chillest monkey tail on the planet. Like he is just so out there all the time. Like he's always like, he's one of the only ones that like comes up. Like of the adults, the babies tend to be pretty social because they've been with me a long time. But like he'll like bang on his glass until like I open the door. Whether, I don't know whether it's for food or whatever, but he will literally just bang on the glass repeatedly. So I don't know if it's just like he's chill, so she just like leaves him alone because he leaves the baby alone. But mine have done really good just like staying in the groups. And then my like non-locality specific ones that are like I don't know what locale they're from. That's a trio, and I'll leave the baby in there. I once because they're both gravid or pregnant right now. So I'll leave those babies in there, and if there's issues, I'll like take them as they come. But I find for the most part, like the group tends to understand the goal, kind of thing. They all understand like it's keep baby safe is the idea. The mom just tends to be the most aggressive about it. Yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah,
makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
And I got stuck there. um, and is it true that so I know there's parental care to a certain degree, but is it true that the babies are like eating the mom's poop or something like that, or the mom is feeding the baby or something like
Copperphagia.
that?
I think it's called copperphagia. So I haven't seen it happen,
Okay.
but apparently it is. A lot of people say that the babies, with a lot of herbivores, right, because they're eating like a very specific diet, they're basically eating the poo of the parent so that they can build up the correct gut biome to
Mm-hmm.
be able to digest that. So it's like they're eating like almost digested fat already kind of
Yeah,
thing when they eat the poo.
pre-digested food. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's the idea, but I haven't witnessed it. Whereas I can say I've witnessed my babies being 2 days old and eating greens already.
Just
So
right away, same
just
thing the parents would eat.
yeah, mom and dad went down and started eating, and it just followed.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
And how long do you keep them together before you? Because you've had the two babies before,
yeah.
and
So I took the twins out when I was 100% sure she was going to give birth soon.
okay, so you kind of left them in for like until she was ready to go in.
Almost a year. Yeah,
Almost a year. Okay.
almost a year.
Yeah. And is that the general time frame? Is it like a once a year thing or
See, it seems like for birth or for taking babies out.
for birth?
So yeah, every year or every other year.
Okay.
Um,
It's not
I,
not multiple times a year though.
no, no, just once. The gestation period is like 7 months. So
Right. And it's a live birth as well, right?
yeah, yeah. Typically one. Sometimes you get lucky and you get two.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon, but it's not like the most common kind of thing.
Yeah. Is there an age that the babies have to reach before you start pairing them as well?
Uh,
Like, is it, and obviously there is that, I guess that question didn't really make sense, but like, is it a long period that you're waiting for them to become sexually mature, I guess?
yeah. They're most herbivores aren't extremely fast growers.
Mhm.
At least from my experience, like Euromastics grow fairly slow. I mean, it's not like molasses, but like it's like the collared lizards just grow like little weeds, right? They're like my first batch that hatched like 2 weeks ago are already like triple the size that they were, kind of thing.
Right.
Whereas like my Euros grow very slow. Like they're 3 years old now. They're probably a bit over 3 years old now, and like I probably still won't breed some of them for like another 2 years.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And then the monkey tails are pretty much about the same. Like the size of the twins are right now. Again, they're from Isabel Island, like one of the islands
Okay.
in the Strand, and that locality is the largest locality of monkey tail skinks.
Cool.
So they are like probably like 2 to 3 times bigger. Like they're gigantic.
Yeah.
I'll try to like get a photo for you to like put in
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
with
Please do.
like
Yeah.
both of them, because it is like my 1 year old Isabels are catching up in size to my almost 4 year old non-locality specific ones.
That's crazy. Yeah, I've seen some. How big do they like? Is there a number of like how big they can get to? Because I've seen some that are probably bigger than my forearm, or like bigger
Those
than my like,
if they're
including
that big,
tail.
yeah, if they're that big and they've got like dark eyes, they're
Yeah,
most likely Isabels. It's one of those. It's like one of those things where like localities with monkey tails aren't like really tracked when they're coming in because you don't genuinely know where it came from
right.
on the island. But for like some of the guys that have been doing it for longer, when you maybe could get some of that information, um, have like rough ideas of what localities look like.
Right.
Isabel is just technically one of the easiest ones to notice because it's massive and its eyes are like pitch black.
Yeah, that's
So
interesting. Yeah, lychees is the same thing. I mean, I think they're probably a little more strict with knowing, like they know, oh, this is a grand tear or this is whatever, blah blah blah.
yeah, so I think the big difference there is the people that ended up keeping a lot of the New Caledonian geckos are the ones who also collected them,
Okay, right.
right?
Yeah,
Like that helps. If
yeah,
I'm sure if like the guys who've been doing it a long time, like Eric, could have went and handpicked on different islands, he would he
yeah,
would he would
for
be the
sure,
same way now, where he would know what every single thing was,
for
kind of
sure.
thing, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why it's important though, is that like for example with the new cows, like all the New Caledonian geckos, like we can't get them anymore, which is good because they're crazily captive bred. But every
yeah.
time someone crosses something, you're muddying that I don't like the word purity,
I was
but
gonna say
that
pure line. Yeah,
yeah, but it's just like I don't like that idea of purity because it's like it's such a like with humans we don't do it because that's like racist.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's like with the animals, it's almost like a history because I feel like they'll be gone and
Yeah.
we wouldn't know what they looked like in that area. We as humans are really good about keeping our own historic records, but
Yeah.
of the animals, it's not so much, right? Where we won't eventually know what something looked like if we're not preserving it and it's also gone in the wild.
Yeah, and is that happening? Like, are people like how strict are the monkey tail skink community? Are people pairing them together, or are
I
people
don't
trying to
know
keep
if you
this?
could, like, for the most part, it seems like I think the only ones that you can get people like confirming that they have that like locality or whatever are pretty much like the different subspecies, which isn't a locality, the Alfred Schmidti, um, the Isabels, because they're like an extremely unique looking animal and they're much larger. And I honestly would have concerns crossing an Isabel with another monkey tail just because of how much bigger mine are than my non-locale specific ones. And then I think I gotta look
When you
up
say
this.
non-specific, are you kind of referring to, since you don't know what they came in as, but they could just be a mix of things, and or they
Yes,
could be a specific lookout? Okay, yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it means I don't actually. NLS is just like saying I don't know the origins of this animal, basically. And then the other one I think that some people have are it's like Guadalcanal canal. I'm not sure if it's all like one word or if it's a canal, but it's like Guadalcanal. So that one I think some people have like a rough. I think I've seen people post before being like, this is this locality kind of thing.
and you don't think that's what your not non-specified ones are?
No, I don't think so.
No. Okay, interesting.
No, they're it's one of those things where like if I remember correctly, that ones tended to have like some bold coloring. I think there was like some whites on it too. I don't fully remember, but it was like a very unique looking animal. And
Yeah.
mine just make me go, "You're a monkey tail skink." So yeah, I don't I
Okay.
don't I don't know what they are. I wouldn't claim to. They're really nice animals. They're really healthy, and
That's
yeah,
what
that
matters.
yeah, exactly. So I
Yeah.
mean, if I could get more animals where I could actually like trace the original area from, that would be dope. But I I think for me, I probably just want Alfred Schmidt next, just to check that off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have any other big goals with the monkey tail skinks?
Yeah, I'd like to just see them eventually. I don't really get to like go away ever because of the business. But me and Bree eventually want to do like a big trip,
Solomon
like
Island trip.
well, her sister lives in Australia.
Cool.
So yeah, maybe like one day that would probably be my goal, to be honest. In terms, working with them is really like a passion project. I don't the other lizards and the other skinks and geckos, they can pay bills, but the monkey
Yeah.
tails they're very like, they mean a lot to me. And like I try to stay like up to date on like Solomon Island things, obviously, except for the government, which I didn't know earlier of that one island. But no, like in terms of like their like just the environment there, like the logging that goes on and stuff, I just try to be like, what's going on there? Am I going to lose the chance to see these animals at some point?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, like I think they're still least concern or not threatened, but yeah, I still, stuff like that's always the fear that I won't see it before it's gone.
Yeah. Would you like to see them more widespread and available in the hobby, like more accessible for most people? Because I feel like even now, you go to an expo and like you either never see them or it's like a super rare occasion you see them once or twice or whatever.
I just don't know if they can be, just because of the live birth,
Just
the
because, yeah.
1 to 2 babies a year. It's really hard to like. I think the big thing is if you like think you want monkey tails, like you need to have more than one. Just
More
than
than
one. Yeah, they're not
per cage or per like more than one locale or
no, like per cage. Like
okay,
they are social animals,
yeah.
100%. Yeah.
They hang
Yeah.
out together, they spend time together.
They do most things together. If one goes to eat, the other goes to eat. Especially like with the mom, you watch if the baby is like I'm not trying to anthropomorphize, but like when you see the baby be like, oh, I want to go get water, it's like a human parent where it's like, well, I got to keep you safe because you're going somewhere that's dangerous. And
Yeah.
you'll see the mom like looking around the corner, like watching him get water.
Yeah, right.
And then he'll go back to her. And then she like just goes back to where she was. But then she's just like always monitoring what it's doing.
That's wild. And the baby's probably to a certain extent learning from her where to get the water, where to get the food. No.
Yeah, what hand to try to bite. Yeah.
Yeah.
The new little baby is super sassy.
That's awesome.
I saw mom go after me one day and I was trying to give him salad and I was like, oh, I'll like hand feed you because you're coming right up to me. And he just lunged at my hand.
It's like, mom bit you, so I'm gonna bite you now too.
Yeah, he's learning from mom.
You're referring to the baby as a he. Is it? Can you sex them right out?
No,
you
I have no clue. Yeah.
How do you sex them?
So like most skinks, head shape can be used when they're mature.
Okay.
Males tend to have like a much more
bulky,
bulkier, more triangle shaped head.
Yeah.
Females tend to have like kind of like a pointier triangle, kind of like with a rounder snout.
Yeah.
And the males are very like, it's like a block rounded triangle kind of thing. Like it just doesn't suit their body.
Yeah, absolutely. And I might be imagining this, but I know exactly what you're talking about with like, not with them specifically, with other species. And I feel like even the emerald tree skinks, to a certain extent, the males have that sort of like everyone says you can only sex them from their back leg, but I feel like, and maybe it's just my pair, but I feel like I can look at them and be like, just from the head, like that's the male, that's the female. Like
I haven't sexed my olive tree skinks, which are I think a different genus than the emeralds, right?
Yes.
They're, what are those guys?
Lamprey, yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm bad with Lamprolepis.
Yeah, because the olives are Dacia.
Okay, yes.
But the olives, I very much can tell that they are different sexes. I don't know who's who.
Based on the head structure?
Based on all of the structure.
Okay, cool.
That's the thing. I find once skinks are fully mature, it's really easy to sex.
They look different. Yeah, that makes sense.
But as they're maturing, it is very hard to sex them. So you can kind of use head shape, and then you can do the if you get them on like a flat surface, you can check the bulge by the tail to see if
Yeah,
you can kind of see a bit more
a
of a
bit
flare
more.
up.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But other than that, no. I know Eric from the Monkey Tail page. He has said there's people who are like, I can pop them, but I would just never pop a.
That sounds dangerous.
Yeah, I don't even like the idea of like popping snakes. I don't know. Shouldn't be like forcing genitals out of body. So,
Sounds
just
uncomfortable.
yeah,
Yeah.
just that. Yeah. Then there's probing, so it's like, yeah, just chill. But yeah, no, those would be the big ways. You have a lot of time though, because like I from my experience, like our pair or our trio, the non-locale specific ones, they're probably like they were not full grown when we got them. So, but they're probably about 5 now, I would
Okay.
think, and they just started breeding.
Okay. Yeah.
So like they're both those females are gravid now.
Awesome.
So that's after having them for multiple years, and the two of them, one of them was really young when we got it. It came like as a baby with the other two.
Okay.
But we grew them all up, and then it ended up being 1 male and 2 females. So,
And do you think the baby was one of the, or just a baby from a different group?
no, it would have been a baby from a different group. They've grown with me, not a
Okay.
lot, but they've grown with me. They definitely weren't big enough at the time to
Okay. Right.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Is there anything special that you need to do? I mean, I think I assume most people know that they're arboreal and they're, they come from, I assume it's like higher humidity areas and tropical kind of setups and whatnot. But is there anything specific, and correct me if I'm wrong on that, but if there anything specific that you need to do with setups to kind of like anything different based on any other arboreal setup that you need to do for them?
I mean, besides the fact that they're big animals, like they're a fairly large
Hmm.
animal. So you can't use like little sticks and stuff. I always see people doing that. Like a lot of people are like, check out my enclosure, and it's sticks, and there's a lot of sticks. Like they can climb everywhere, but all of mine sleep in cork grounds. All of them, every single one of them. We have 8 of them. All of them sleep in cork grounds. All of them. So when I see people and they don't have a single cork ground in the enclosure, I'm always just like, can we get one in there? Just one at least. Because like they'll all
Just give them a bed.
if you gave them one, like I guarantee if somebody has none in the enclosure and you give them one and you have more than one monkey tail, they'll all cram into it. Like they like the I just find with most reptiles, giving them cork grounds is like the ultimate like safe spot, right? Because it allows like if you lay like a cork tube from right to left in an enclosure where it's higher on one end and lower on the other, it lets them get to everywhere heat wise in the enclosure while still being safe through that whole travel. So it's just like, yeah, a lot of it is just like giving them security. I find they're good with me because I've given them so much security that they understand that at any point, if they were uncomfortable, they could leave the situation so quickly. Right. Like,
What do you think of the situation of you need to get access to this animal now for some reason or whatever odd reason, and it's always in that cork tube and you can't get it out? Because I've
if
heard the
it's a
argument of they
genuine
don't give it back.
emergency,
Yeah.
if it's a genuine emergency, cool. That cork is cork. Rip it open and get the animal. Get more cork. Like, like also their cork is really good if you score it, for example, like a big round, you could just score it and you can get it to crack exactly where you want it to crack. So you could just crack it in half and then zip tie it back together after if you want. But like I would never be like, oh, I can't get it out of a cork. I can stick my hand into all of the cork grounds. They're huge. Like you should use, be able to get in it then. I don't really use small cork grounds, even for the geckos, because like I'm always afraid like they're going to be stupid, especially like the gargoyles. Those things will try to cram themselves in like anything. So I'm always just like, no, like you can have a big cork ground that you can walk freely and climb all the way around it. But yeah, like the little tiny ones, I would never use that kind of stuff. I want to be able to reach into it if I want, And yeah, if it is an emergency, I'm just ripping it open. It's an emergency, right? If that's the case, that's what you do.
No, for sure that makes sense. I just heard the argument of people saying, "Oh, I don't want to give it this or I don't want to give it that because then I can never access." And the argument is said more in terms of not an emergency, but like I can't access my pet or I can't go pick up the animal whenever I want because it's always in the court ground. But
Because that's where it's comfortable. Then you that's the thing. You need to like, if it's not coming out of that court ground, then I would say the environment other than the court ground is probably not suitable. Like something is missing that it wants. Like I see, I'm not going to name names, but there's a decent middle sized breeder who always posts their enclosures, and there is nothing in the upper half of them. And I don't understand it because they're using like 18 by 18 by 24s. That's a big enclosure. It's like, um, it's big. There's you have all the space, and then you decide that you want to use 12 inches of your 18-inch enclosure.
only half of it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just like I don't see the purpose of even having that enclosure then. Like, and then you see the animals at the top of it, and it's like put the pieces together. Like it's common sense. That's a large part of what's missing in keeping reptiles is just common sense. When you see things, common sense break it down, right? So like if you have an enclosure and you don't really have stuff at the top of it, like for example, the one behind you on I think it would be your left. There's a tree. Yeah, there's a tree leading up to the basking light.
Yes.
So it's like if the tree wasn't there and that animal, if I don't know if it has sticky feet or not, but if it could and it was stuck up near that lamp all the time, I would assume it wants to be up there and give it things to get up there that aren't just the glass. Right?
Yes.
It's like, yeah, and that's just confusing to me.
Yeah, it's funny because this is a long time ago. I don't remember what episode it was. It was one of the Dart Frog people that I had on, and they were kind of talking about how they designed their enclosures, and they were saying they used the term usable surface area, and it's like you could have whatever size enclosure you want. It could be smaller. You could have a much smaller enclosure, and not that I'm saying you should have a smaller enclosure, but you can have a much smaller enclosure that's more useful or functional than a gigantic enclosure that has like one or two perches and no cover, no nothing. So yeah, usable surface area or the way you scape it is super important for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. That's
And,
like that's yeah,
and
it's exact. You said it more gracefully is what I would say. Where it's like you need to use the space you have.
you need
Like
to use the space,
don't buy an enclosure that like even just like leaning things corner to corner is going to be harder in a taller enclosure or just be even dumber. Where something that in a 12 by 12 by 18 is going to go like this in a 18 by 18 by 24 that you're not filling. Well, it's going to go like that because you're not filling it. You're using a small. It's just everything needs to be like my enclosures. Like I can't find my animals sometimes in them, but like that's how it should.
That's how it should be.
Yeah, they should be able to use the whole enclosure to a point where I'm like, where are you?
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. Okay, so wrap it up on this question. Pothos. I heard they eat pothos. And do they? And do you plant it in their tanks, or do you not plant it because you don't want them to only be eating it?
That one. Yeah.
That one.
I've talked to a lot of people. Not everyone says this, but I've talked to enough people that it's kind of steered me away from it. That if you get them eating the pothos, that they just want pothos. And I'm not against that. Clearly, it is part of their like wild diet.
Does pothos come from the same area?
Yes. So like they eat a lot of plants that are technically poison. But the reason the pothos is poison is kind of like a weird caveat of poison. It's not really like poison. From what I understand, it's extremely high in oxalic acid, I believe, is why it's actually bad. I don't think it's actually like poison, but I think it is so high in it that it is technically really bad to a point where it can be lethal.
Interesting. And you're saying they eat a lot of poison plants that are considered poison?
Yeah, I couldn't list them all for you, but I will tell you right now, there's not very much they'll turn their nose up at.
And do you know why they do that?
I'm honestly no, I'm not sure why they do it, and I'm not sure why they can do it compared to others. Yeah, so
Yeah, yeah.
it is just it's so yeah, I just looked up pothos, and it's just what I said. They're poisonous to animals. While they rarely cause death, the ingestion of the calcium oxalates found in these plants can cause severe gastral distress. So it's not even like a killing. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, it'll kill your cat or dog. It's very rare for that to happen unless they just like, I don't know, devour like a lot of it.
Hmm.
Like eating a leaf or something isn't going to do much. But yeah, monkey tails seem to be immune to the gastral problems of it.
That's fascinating. That's
Yeah.
fascinating.
So a lot of other things that you would typically avoid when feeding herbivores, um, like spinach, for example, is also very high in that. Old growth dandelion is also very high in it.
And you
People
give
should.
them all of that stuff.
Uh, I don't really feed dandelion very often. There's just so many better options than dandelion
Right.
out there, so it's just like I kind of avoid it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'll give them spinach. Kale is another one that's very high in it. They can eat all that. Um, and like other reptiles can too. You just tend to need to monitor how you're supplementing them more. Because it's like a lot of those are like calcium binders. Like they make the calcium that you would dust with, basically. Not all of it, but it basically reduces the potency because it binds to that, so they won't be able to actually digest any of it.
So, so you'd need to supplement less, or you need to supplement
You can
more.
either not supplement calcium at that time when you are feeding things with that, um, or you can. Some people say you can overdo do it knowing they're going to get less of it, basically.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
I with the monkey tails, I typically just treat it like normal, and then the other animals, we have so many other greens that I just avoid feeding oxalate high greens.
Hmm.
Like you want to go? Or you want me to?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like dandelion is like a big culprit for that. Like a lot of people use it as like a staple for their animals. Like they're like, oh, dandelion, dandelion. You hear it a lot with beardies. People are always like, oh, I feed dandelion greens, and they think they're like giving their beardy like the best possible thing, and it's like it's mid. It's super mid.
Mid.
Yeah, like it's okay if that's what you can get, cool. But like if you're picking from outside in your yard, there's like a billion better things that you could get out there for them.
Hmm.
Clover is you'd struggle not to find clover and plantain if you have a yard.
Right.
Um, Plantain, the weed, not the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
small bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I figured that's what you meant. Yeah.
Yeah, but like that stuff is a great feed. Like it's a really good nutritional green to feed. You can feed it in high amounts. It's extremely easy to identify outside. Like it's yeah, that kind of thing. People should be feeding more and less dandelion.
That's interesting. Do you think what's the word you said? Oxalates?
Oxalates, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like oxalic. They're like calcium oxalates, which I believe are basically like I probably screw this up in some way because I'm not a vet. I always want vets to talk about this because I always think that like people just feed their reptiles really
Wrong.
poorly. Yeah, well, not wrong always, just more so like poorly.
Hmm.
But I believe they're basically like it's basically like the food has the oxalate which then binds to the calcium, I believe.
Interesting. Do you think that the monkey-tailed skinks, eat all of these things because they need a higher content of oxalates in their diet than most other reptiles, or do you think
I
it's like
think
you said before, they just, yeah,
I think they most likely just have something in their gut that neutralizes it.
so they're okay with eating it, but they don't necessarily need it?
Yeah, yes, yeah. Oh, they definitely I would definitely say they don't need it for sure. Yeah. If you're feeding like a healthy mix of a variety of greens, they definitely don't need it. Um, I do give them like we had a pothos plant before. I still got one going down here that I'll cut like a leaf off as a bribe every once in a while to be like, hey, I need to look at you for something, right? Like
Yeah, come here.
I try to like look over animals like that, like treat it not like a dog, but it's like a reward for coming to me. Like, yeah, I'm bothering you. Here's the thing. Well, you get bothered and then go back. So like it, it's a more positive experience.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, I know you need cover for them and all of that, but can you set up their enclosure with live plants, or do they just end up eating anything you put in there?
Delete everything. I know some people have like I've seen people like be like, oh, I got this massive pothos, which by the way, you should never go to the garden center and buy a pothos and then immediately feed it to your monkey tails ever.
Correct.
anything, not even just pothos, but anything from the
Correct.
garden center. Don't ever just immediately feed to your animal. You need like new growth, take that new growth, replant that new growth, and then you could use that plant once it grows. But don't ever use the direct plant you got from the garden center.
I think on that note, we will wrap up this episode. James, as always, this was super fascinating. Thank you for teaching us about skinks, and
Of
thank you for
course.
coming on. We do have a few more episodes that we've been talking about doing that we need to get to ASAP. Uh,
I'm down.
yes, but on that note as well, is there anything you want to plug, and or where can people find you?
You can find me the same places as always. I'm usually Instagram is the best way to get a hold of me. Always fairly active on there. But I
Can you
will
confirm?
respond. Yeah, I will respond to Facebook or email or whatever. Our website's www.topshelfgeckos.ca. Or we have a Morph Market account if you're American. That way you can like look at all the prices with shipping and importation fees already included in the animal. And if you're interested in more than one animal, you can just contact us because some of those fees get waived. Uh, and then as far as a plug, do I plug it?
It's up to you.
Well, it's your. I don't want to. Is it bad manners to do it on
Oh no,
yours?
absolutely not. If you're ready,
No.
no, if you're ready
Yeah,
to,
no,
yeah,
like I'm
absolutely,
already like starting. Like I'm just sorting
yeah,
this out, and then I literally am gonna do like 2 this week. So
no, absolutely, go for it. Yeah,
okay, yeah. So I'm gonna be starting my own podcast.
drum roll.
Yeah. So I basically I spend most of my day, obviously taking care of the animals, but intermittently while I'm taking care of the animals, I'm usually just uh jerking like joking and like just doing dumb stuff with my reptile friends, like talking about stuff we're keeping and things we're doing. And I just know so many people that know so much about what they keep. Um, and not all of them want to be out there 24/7, but they do want information out there. So I thought it would be cool to just kind of sit down with people in the hobby who are like really passionate about like one specific species, um, and maybe that breaks into subspecies in some cases. But for the most part, I really want each one to be something that if someone is interested in an animal, they can get the truth, the nitty gritty of that animal. Because I think a lot of the times when you talk on podcast, you're trying to get through stuff like we did today. We're trying to fill in all the things of what I'm doing, whereas like I really just want to jump right into it. So people who
Talk about one.
yeah, so people who are interested in that species can get the view of somebody who maybe is obviously keeping that species and is really dedicated to it, and then I can be the outsider view where I've got a long history of keeping reptiles, I've got a good understanding of keeping reptiles, but I don't really want to keep new things anymore. I love what I keep. I love
Yeah.
what I keep right now. I don't think I would really expand into many new species. That's not true. I would definitely get a lot more new skinks.
You
But
would.
I'm definitely kind of like, I know snakes are something I love snakes. I just don't really have an interest in keeping them. But there's a lot of snakes that I want to learn about, even though I don't keep them. So I know people, and I thought it would be cool to have a platform to give to my friends. to speak and me to bother them without them being able to run away. Right.
That's a genius. That's exactly what I did. No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I am very much looking forward to this. I know it's going to be awesome. If there's any links by the time this episode's out, then you will find them in the description. If there isn't any links, then keep an eye on Top Shelf Geckos on Instagram.
I am gonna try to get like 5 under my belt before
you start kind of putting them out. You should do that, absolutely.
Yeah. So I've got like 3 planned so far.
Cool.
And I'm like I said to you, I'm just gonna figure out this interface that my brother brought me today, and then I'm hopefully smash out a couple this week. So
yeah,
I doubt when I don't know. It depends how quick you work, but I'll probably need at least like 2-3 more weeks.
Okay, so I don't know how quick I work either because life's been crazy recently. But
yeah, right.
Keep an eye on the show notes, and or on Top Shelf Geckos Instagram page, or my Instagram page, because I will definitely share this when it comes out because I'm super excited, like I said. But yeah, James, as always, thank you very much. Actually, before we let you go, CRBE.
Oh yeah, CRB. Yeah, I've already got my table booked. Yeah.
Yes.
I will be beside my good buddy Mark from Geckos. If you like leopard geckos, always check him out. He's a super, super good guy. He is like that's like, there's not many people in the hobby that I'm just like, that's a gem to have. Like we need to appreciate having this person here. Like they just
I agree.
He just has like a good heart, and that's not always the most common thing. There's a lot of high school kind of crap in the hobby, and he just wants to enjoy his geckos, have fun. Yeah, like he's always fun to hang out with at Expo. So yeah, we'll be there. We got our booths booked. We should have, I don't even know how many different species I think on the table, probably 10 different species ish, all captive bred by us.
That's awesome. And so yeah, you guys already know, if you're looking for your collared lizards, if you're looking for your fat tails, James is the man. But I heard some rumors there's going to be, well, he just said it, but there's going to be some other cool species on the table. So make sure you are at CRBE and stop by Top Shelf Geckos.
If anyone is looking for collared lizards now, I do already have some ready to go. So
hit them up.
I can be hit up for that.
Yeah, I'm trying to behave and stop myself from hitting you up because I cannot fit any more animals in here or afford any more animals at the moment. But one of these days, because I am very interested in those collards. But anyway, James, thank you very much for coming on, as always. I'm sure you guys will be seeing James very, very soon. But for now, thank you for listening, and we will see you all on the next one. And shout out to the Ontario Turtle Conservation Center.
Go donate. Go donate.
Go donate.
Help the turtles.
Cool.